Rukmini Mataji, can we start with the Kirtan?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanyavad ma'am. Yes, Mataji, please, Mataji.
Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So maybe we do Kirtan, and in the meantime, other devotees will join. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Balaram, Jaya Radhesham, Radhesham, Anita Vishwaka, Jaya Radhesham, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarajagacharya Ashtottara Sat Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarajagacharya Ashtottara Sat Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome everyone for today's study. We are going to do chapter 14 where we left off. We will be taking from there, and also 15 and possibly 16, Krishna willing, because 15 and 16 are smaller chapters, and 17, 18, 19, they're quite philosophical, they're bigger chapters. So we want to spend more time on those chapters. So I want to finish. Let's see how the entire class will turn out to. First, we will recite prayers to the Bhagavatam, and then we'll start. Oh, where are you? Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Everyone is able to see my screen? Yes? No?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you. Sarva Shastra Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnatya Sarva Lokaika Drikpada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalida Vontidaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures. You are the most prominent transcendental fruit of the Vedas, and you are enriched with the jewels of all philosophical conclusions. You grant spiritual vision to all people of the world and the very life breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. Actually, you are Lord Krishna who has returned among us. Paramananda Patyaya Prema Vashaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By your recitation, one attains transcendental bliss because your syllables shower down pure love of God. You are to be served by everyone always, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madekabandho matsangin madguru madmahadhana mandistharaka madbhagya madananda namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my good fortune and bliss, I offer respectable obeisances unto you. Asadu sadhu tadayini yatini chochata kara hana muchakata chinmam prema hrikantayospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Accompanied by pure love of Krishna, please manifest yourself in my heart and my throat. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So we are continuing our reading. Any remembrances from the past class, the last class? Any remembrances? Where did we left off?
I think we did till Shloka 6.
No, we did shlokas 22.
20.
Oh, yes, sorry, sir.
22. Okay. So what did we learn in this chapter or in the previous chapter quickly, so that it's like a recap for us.
So, Mataji, we were discussing King Vena and how the Brahmins decided to give him good counsel so that he could mend his ways and help his subjects progress in spiritual life. And in the last section, that is what the Brahmins were doing. They told him how he could help his subjects and how he was going wrong in what he was supposed to do.
What were some of the advice that the Brahmanas gave? Any points you remember, Mataji?
I think one of those was that if the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied, then one doesn't need to do anything in addition to satisfy anybody else. Everything will fall into place if we surrender to the Lord and serve Him.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Anyone else remembers anything? Yes, Prabhu. Andrea may Balram Prabhu.
Mataji, they also said that the Supreme God is the worshipped by even the great demigods. So when he is satisfied, nothing is impossible.
Right.
That was a wonderful point, Mataji.
Yes. Anything else? Thank you, Prabhu. Anything else that we remember from the sage's advice?
Also, that the goal of human life is to raise oneself to the platform of being Brahmabhut. So that was what the king was supposed to do. He was supposed to facilitate that.
Yeah, he was supposed to facilitate the spiritual culture so that people will become Krishna conscious. Yes, thank you. So today we are starting from text 23 of chapter 14. So in the next 7 verses, 23 to 29, 6 verses actually, the Vena is going to reject all the advice, that is the good advice, the good counsel given by the sages. So 23. King Vena replied, "You're not at all experienced. It is very much regrettable that you are maintaining something which is not religious and are accepting as religious. Indeed, I think you're giving up your real husband who maintains you and are searching after some paramour to worship." So, when we hear King Venas, what is the first thing that strikes our mind? There's an attitude that is coming from Vena. What do you think that attitude is? What can we see? What can we perceive?
Arrogant.
Arrogance, yes. It's the arrogance and his pride. And Prabhupada is telling that he's foolish. He's foolish and he's advising. He's telling how the Brahmanas are wrong. And he's telling that, instead of worshipping me, you're worshipping the other demigods. And by doing so, you are just like a lady, who is married, but she's worshipping the paramour. And Prabhupada writes that he's accusing the Brahmanas. He's making an accusation against the Brahmanas, saying that, you're just like a woman who cares for the paramour, not for the husband. So, although it's interesting that Prabhupada uses this simile to make us understand, although the duty of the Kshatriyas is to engage the Brahmanas in different types of religious activities, and king is supposed to be the maintainer of the Brahmanas, but the Brahmanas also have a role to guide the king towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, King Vena is just telling them that, you're worshipping demigods. But what are the sages are doing here? They're not just worshipping the demigods. They're worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they're also following the religious principles. And they also worship demigods in accordance with Lord Vishnu, in accordance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Vena is able to see only one aspect. He's saying that, these people are conducting sacrifices for the demigods. So these are like polluted. They're unchaste towards the king. 24. Those who out of ignorance do not worship the king, who is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, experience happiness neither in this world nor in the world after death. So here, King Vena is telling that, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am the king. So king is equivalent to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I am your Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you worship me, then you will have happiness. If you don't worship me, if you don't worship the king as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you won't experience happiness in this life and not in the next. You see his character is showing that the arrogance of that, thinking himself as the center of the universe. And can you relate to which chapter of the Bhagavad Gita talks about this kind of mentality?
Aham Bhogi, 16th chapter, Mataji.
This is in chapter?
16.
Yeah,
Divine,
chapter 16,
divine,
talking about, yes,
div-
the demonic and divine.
Ji.
Yeah. So Krishna is already giving us an understanding that, we are not judging people just by their external dress. We judge people according to the qualities and the characteristics they carry. So although King Vena appeared in the family of Dhruva Maharaj's lineage, although he's raised to the platform of the king, he is not divine, he's demoniac. And here he himself is declaring that, king is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 25. You're so much devoted to the demigods, but who are they? Indeed, your affection for these demigods is exactly like the affection of an unchaste woman who neglects her married life and gives all attention to her paramour. So again and again, he's emphasizing on the same point. He's accusing them that, you should pay attention to me, to my order, but instead you're paying attention to the demigods. So in one sense, he understands Lord Vishnu is also one of the demigods. He doesn't understand that, Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't have that understanding. 26 and 27, you see? Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra, Vayu, the master of air, Yama, the superintendent of death, the sun god, the director of rainfall, Kuvera, the treasurer, the moon god, the predominating deity of the earth, Agni, the fire god, Varuna, the lord of the waters, and all others who are great and competent to bestow the benedictions or to curse, all abide in the body of the king. For this reason, the king is known as the reservoir of all demigods, or simply part and parcels of the king's body. You see, it's not that he doesn't have an understanding that, the king takes responsibility. It is said that, the king takes 1/6 of the sinful reactions of the population. So either the people are pious or impious, the king actually bears 1/6 of their karma. It goes to the king. So if the population is sinful, he takes 1/6 of their sins. If the population is pious, they take the 1/6 of the piety that goes to the king. So it's a lot. It's a lot. But however, what is Vena's understanding? He's thinking that, all these demigods, the very powerful demigods, but still, they reside in me. So conclude me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada is also telling here, there are many demons who think themselves as the supreme and present themselves as the directors of sun, moon, and other planets. This is all due to false pride. Similarly, King Vena developed a demonic mentality and presented himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such demons are numerous in the age of Kali, and all of them are condemned by the great sages and saintly persons. So again, we judge people not just by their externals, but we judge people by the mentality they carry, whether they are demoniac or divine, whether they're willing to surrender to Krishna or whether they're not willing to surrender to Krishna. So this is where we judge. The judgment lies here. 28. King Vena continued, "For this reason, O Brahmanas, you should abandon your envy of me. By your ritualistic activities, you should worship me and offer me all paraphernalia. If you're intelligent, you should know that there is no personality superior to me who can accept the first oblations of all sacrifices." So he is telling that, now onwards, whatever the ritualistic sacrifices you do, you offer oblations in the name of me. So he wants to imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's speaking out of the pride. And this pride is very dangerous. Last week we were discussing about the dangers of the pride. The pride is very, very subtle. And this can happen even in the practitioners. So what was the solution that we were discussing, that how do we get rid of the pride? What was the solution that we were talking about? What did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized?
Pranadapishu that we must consider ourselves very insignificant.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji said that we should wear this as a garland.
Yes, around the neck. And also the service to the pure devotees also helps us to get out of our pride, the false pride. When we offer service to the pure devotees, they will help us to understand. We become humble in their service. Yes, Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, if we pass on the credit of whatever achievement we have, whatever little, whatever talents we exhibit, that helps us to remember that if I have exhibited anything good, that's because of Krishna's mercy or my Guru's mercy or the mercy of Vaishnavas.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, it's like, handling a hot potato. If the pride or the praise is like a hot potato. If you hold it for a long time, it will burn your hands. What should you do? You quickly pass it on. Then you don't burn your hands. So similarly, here we see that King Vena, because of his false pride, he's thinking that, he's the center of the universe. He wanted to become the center of the universe. He wants to imitate Krishna. Can you think of another example who was imitating Krishna in Krishna's Dwarka Leela? Very
Pondrak
funny
Mataji.
character. Paundraka, yes. Paundraka, he went to that extent that he started, dressing himself as Krishna. And he sends a letter to Krishna saying that, okay, now you give me Sudarshan Chakra, because Sudarshan Chakra belongs to me. Then you will see in this chapter, Krishna, after listening to the whole letter from the messenger, he has a hearty laugh in the assembly that, So demonic people, out of this pride, they can go to any extent. So we should not be surprised to see that. 29. The great sage Maitreya continued, thus the king who became unintelligent due to his sinful life and deviation from the right path became actually benefit of all good fortune. He could not accept the request of the great sages, which the sage put forward before him with great respect. Therefore, he was condemned. So Maitreya was explaining, King Vena was condemned because of three things. First of all, he became unintelligent because of the sinful life. And that led him to a deviation from the right path, and which ultimately took away all the good fortune that he has, right? Can you think of a verse from chapter 7 Bhagavad Gita where it talks exactly opposite to this verse? Someone will engage in devotional service with great determination due to. This is from chapter 7 Bhagavad Gita. You can look into the books if you want, at the database. Yes, Santrayami Prabhu.
Read Mataji 7:28. Persons who have acted piously in previous life,
Yes.
in this life.
Can you give me the whole translation if it's okay, please?
Persons who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are free from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination.
Yeah. So again, Krishna is also telling someone who acted very piously in the previous life and in this life, what happens to them? Their sins are eradicated. They're free from delusion. And then they engage in devotional service with determination. So these are also some points that we should be understanding. Sorry, there's something in the message. Oh, sorry. I just saw your message, Mataji. Yes, you can read Ganga Shakti Mataji from next verse onwards. Okay. So these 4 points are also important, that we have to see that, when we lack a determination, when we undergo some delusion, so there is some impiety that is also stopping us to perform devotional service. This is also the characteristic of the population of the Kali Yuga. They're impious, they cannot take up to Bhakti. So how do we help them? because of the sinful credits that they have, they are also deviated from the right path. They are also benefit of the good fortune, just like King Vena. They also cannot take the good advice of the devotees. Now, how should we help them? Should we just condemn them? Should we just reject them? Or can we think of some practical solutions for them? How do we help them? Yes, Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, like Prabhupada helped us. Prabhupada helped the inhabitants of the Bauri by building their Sukriti, by feeding them prasadam, by doing kirtan for them. So in this way, even if we are the worst of the categories because we are born in Kali Yuga and we have no piety, nothing to support our bhakti, but still we can build other people and our own Sukriti by doing this.
Yes, and this is Bhakti Sukriti. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, we should be doing massive Sankirtan, massive Prasadam distribution. By doing this, people who are even impious, the born in the ocean of this falls of Kali Yuga, they still can become fortunate just by having this Bhakti Sukriti. You know, many of us are like Vena, but you know, some devotees have shown mercy in different ways. We should not expect that all people will be inclined towards the instructions of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam straight away, because we carry these sinful tendencies. That's why we are born in the age of Kali. But we have to increase their bhakti piety, bhakti sukriti. So Prabhupada is writing in this purport, what are some of the characteristics of the demons? Demons certainly cannot have any faith in the words of authorities. In fact, they're always disrespectful to the authorities. They manufacture their own religious principles and disobey great personalities like Vyasa, Narada, and even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. As soon as one disobeys authority, he immediately becomes very sinful and loses his good fortune. The king was so puffed up and impudent that he dared disrespect the greatly saintly personalities, and this brought him ruination. So, you know, when we go out in the society, most of the population belong to this category, right? There are 4 kinds of sinful people, right? And Prabhupada writes 99.99% of the population of the world is Naradhamas. They're the lowest of the mankind. So what is the best way is massive prasadam distribution, massive sankirtan. This will help bring the people's consciousness up. Ganga Shakti Mataji, you want to read the translation?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you.
Text 30. My dear Vidur, all good fortune unto you. The foolish king who thought himself very learned thus insulted the great sages, and the sages, being broken-hearted by the king's words, became very angry at him.
So, yeah, the sages became very angry. 31. Anyone?
Great. Sorry.
Go ahead, no problem.
All the great saintly sages immediately cried, kill him, kill him. He's the most dreadful, sinful person. If he lives, he will certainly turn the whole world into ashes in no time.
Yeah. When I was reading this verse, I was thinking that, you know, but this age is a special benediction because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born. He's giving mercy even to the most unqualified, isn't it? Srila Prabhupada, he is helping us to become devotees, although we are very unqualified. So, yes, saintly persons, we will see in this purport Prabhupada is talking about. Saintly persons are generally very kind to all living entities. And they're not even happy even when they kill even a serpent or a scorpion. However, when the saintly person sees a snake or a scorpion, they can kill them. Srila Prabhupada also had this kind of experience with his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Once Srila Prabhupada went to Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur, and Prabhupada was with his godbrothers, and he saw there was a poisonous snake there. And then they didn't know what to do, and they were screaming. And then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur came out, and he said that kill the serpent. And Prabhupada was thinking that, Are Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur is a snake. Then after some time, he came across words that even the saints take the snakes and scorpions. Then he was pacified. Then he understood that how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is very practical sannyasi. So the sages, although they knew that, killing is not the only method to adopt, but they decided here to kill King Vena because he's very ruthless. In this pastime happened in the Satya Yuga, right? Where Dhruva Maharaj has just finished his reign. Now it is coming to his descendants. This is still in the Satya Yuga. Satya Yuga people are very, very pious. So they have never seen any person, they have never come across any person like King Vena. Instead of helping them to go to the higher levels in their spiritual consciousness, King Vena is doing everything opposite. So they have taken this action to kill him. And why did they kill him? Why did they decide to kill him? Because he knew that he is not going to help the people in their Krishna consciousness. 32.
The saintly sages continued, "This impious, impudent man does not deserve to sit on the throne at all. He is so shameless, and that he even dared insult the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu."
Yes. So a devotee is ready to take any kind of insults for himself, but he's not ready to take any kind of insults for if it's for Krishna or for his devotees. So Prabhupada is writing that one should not tolerate any time blasphemy or insults against Lord Vishnu or his devotees. A devotee is generally very humble and meek, and he is reluctant to pick a quarrel with anyone. Nor does he envy anyone. However, a pure devotee immediately becomes fiery with anger when he sees Lord Vishnu or his devotees insulted. This is the duty of a devotee. Although a devotee maintains an attitude of meekness and gentleness, it is a great fault on his part if he remains silent when the Lord or his devotees blaspheme. Now, what should we do if we hear any blaspheme or an insult towards Krishna or his devotees? What should be our action? Should we kill them? Because we live around people who are like that. Yes, Rukmini Mataji.
Mataji, if I can argue, I should argue. Otherwise, I should leave that place.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Any other thoughts? What should we do? Yeah, just leave the place. Yeah.
We can correct also if the other side is our junior or devotee. But, the best is to leave the or change the point. Sometimes we gather many devotees and blaspheme a third party who is not there. So it's better to leave the place or change the point, change the discussion.
Right. Very nice. Very practical solution. Yes. Any other thoughts? What should we do? One is to put an argument before them, to leave the place or change the topic. Yes, Priya Satyabhama Mataji.
Mataji, we can pray to Krishna for giving them the right consciousness and, trying to
Mm.
give them, we can pray for them. Basically, for their upliftment, we can pray.
Yeah, that's nice. And also, I also heard that, you can give them a lot of prasadam. You just change the topic and just give them a lot of prasadam. Because, sometimes they're not ready to understand, at that point. Yeah, that's nice. So the first choice is not that we don't want to get into argumentative. We are presenting. And if they're still very impudent, change the topic, give prasadam, and just walk away. Yes, 33.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
May I ask one question, Mataji?
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Mataji, if me myself is very interested in blaspheming the devotees or do such type of things, so we can personally I can get rid from this habit.
How do you get rid of this habit? Then we learn to offer praises towards the devotees, studying more Shastra and engaging in serious service to the Vaishnavas. This will help us. Yes, because we also get into this habit of prajalpa. Prajalpa is very easy. And, everything starts with prajalpa, How do we get into criticism or get into blasphemy? Because if we are interested in this prajalpa, in the early times itself, if we are able to watch the weeds that's growing in our heart, then we will be able to protect our, bhakti creeper. This is my understanding. Like from Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see the famous example of Ramachandra Puri. He's Madhavendra Puri's personal servant. But still, he went out and he blasphemed even Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri, he was at the time of he was going to leave the body, and he's praying that, oh Mathuranath, Krishna, where are you? It's a very beautiful prayer. Sorry, I couldn't recall. But then Ramachandra Puri is like, why are you saying this? Why are you praying? Why are you being sentimental? And he started to advise. He was doing a lot of service to his spiritual master. And then what happened? He became the spiritual master. And engaging in service and trying to not to get the jalpa. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Mataji, there's a disturbance at your end. Your voice is cracking.
Jumping. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So can we continue? Is that okay, Prabhu? Answer is okay?
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, one.
I'm not able to hear you. Your voice is
If
breaking
just
as well.
start sharing our heart that this thing I am feeling or this situation I face.
Sorry, Prabhu. Sorry. Can you repeat the question? I didn't understand. How about you type in the message? How about you type in the message? I'm not able to understand. It was breaking for me. Can anyone hear Prabhu's question?
No, Mataji.
No, yeah, so same thing. It was breaking for me as well. Okay. We'll continue. Verse 33. But for King Vena, who is simply inauspicious, who would blaspheme the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy one is awarded all kinds of fortune and opulence. So Prabhupada is making that when human society individually, collectively becomes godless and blasphemes the authority of Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is certainly destined for ruination. Such civilization invites all kinds of bad fortune due to not appreciating the mercy of the Lord. So any inauspiciousness that we see in this today's world is because we are becoming godless. That's the simple thing. It's very simple. In the why Srimad Bhagavatam emphasized, to be read, to be studied, to be distributed, so that it will create God consciousness amongst the people. It can change the hearts of misdirected civilization. Tadvar visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishloka bhatvati api. So here Vyasadeva is saying that, this knowledge, this Srimad Bhagavatam is going to change people's hearts. It will direct them towards the God Krishna, towards Krishna. Even if you see in the first canto, when we are discussing, after writing the entire literatures, Vyasadeva was dividing the Veda into 4, and he wrote the Puranas, and he compiled many other things, but he still remained unsatisfied. Then he was going through this despondency. Then Narada Muni says that, you did everything right, but you forgot to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless and until you glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one will be peaceful and no one will be happy. There will be only inauspiciousness. And also, if you go to the Canto 7, in the beginning chapters, King Yudhishthira will be asking this question, that, King Vena was blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and King Shishupal was also blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But how is that Shishupal achieved higher liberation while King Vena went to the hell? This was Yudhishthira Maharaj's question. Then Narada Muni says that because Shishupal was always thinking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he was blaspheming, he is unfavorably thinking about the Lord. Whereas King Vena, he is never thinking about the Lord and he is blaspheming. So even though someone is unfavorably also executing, they can get something out of that practice. However, we are supposed to practice anukulyena, Krishna anushilanam. The bhakti should be favorably disposed. Vena is condemned because he is blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's envious. He's pushed by the pride, his false pride. 34. The great sages, thus manifesting their covert anger, immediately decided to kill the king. King Vena was already as good as dead due to his blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, without using their weapons, the sages killed King Vena simply by high-sounding words. So simply by cursing him, King Vena was dead. So now, from 35 to 40, we see the consequences of not having a king in the kingdom. Now, after killing the Vena, what happened? After all the sages returned to their respective hermitages, the mother of King Vena, Suniti, became very much aggrieved because of her son's death. She decided to preserve the dead body of her son by the application of certain ingredients and by chanting mantras, mantra yogena. So what did she do? She preserved the body of King Vena in some oils and ointments so that the body is preserved. If you remember, even from the Ramayana, King Dashrath's body was also preserved in oil, right? Until the Bharat and Shatrughna, they came to perform the last rituals. So this is not an unknown science. It's there. You know, we hear about the pyramids and the Egyptian culture, but it's also there in Vedic culture. You know, our Vedic culture is very deep. It's a deep science. It has solution for everything. Now we will see, interestingly, how they will, King Prithu's birth is very exciting episode, you know, because the Vedic science has a lot more better techniques than the modern science. 36. Once upon a time, the same saintly persons, after taking their bath in the river Saraswati, began to perform their daily duties by offering oblations into sacrificial fires. After this, sitting on the bank of river, they began to talk about transcendental person and his pastimes. So what are they doing? They did their morning ritualistic program. They did the morning program, they did the rituals, they did the oblations into the sacrifice. And they sat and they're doing what? They're into discussion of Krishna's pastimes and about Krishna. Can you think of a verse from the Bhagavad Gita which tells about the nature of the saintly persons? Chapter 10. What do pure devotees do when they come together? Sorry.
Bhagavad Gita, Mataji, Bhagavatam.
Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10.
Yeah. Santushtasatam yogi yatatma dirvata mayarpita manar bhakti yome bhakta same priya.
No, here we are talking about they're coming together and they're discussing. I'm looking for that particular verse. Chapter 10. Key verses. The Chatushloki. It's one of the Chatushloki of the Bhagavad Gita.
Mataji, can it be like
No, I think it's chapter 9. Chapter 9. Chapter 9. What do pure devotees do when they come together? Is it chapter 9? What was the verse? Can anyone think of it?
Is this not Katyantascha Mamnityam Tushanti Charavanti Cha?
What verse is this?
Katyantascha Mamnityam, when they talk, Katyan matlab they talk.
Yes.
Tushanti Charavanti Cha.
Yes. What was the verse number, this one? What verse is this?
10.9.
10.9. So what are the devotees doing? They're always coming together and they're always interested in discussing. This is how we find out who is a pure devotee. You know, the activities of the pure devotees, the characteristics of the pure devotees. They always are interested only in discussion of the Krishna and pastimes of Krishna. So we are heading to 37. In those days, there were various disturbances in the country that were creating a panic in society. Therefore, all the sages began to talk amongst themselves. Since the king is dead and there is no protector in the world, misfortune may befall the people in general on account of rogues and thieves. Because there is no protector, what is happening? The rogues and thieves are taking advantage. So here Prabhupada is also mentioning the saintly persons become very anxious for the safety of people in general. The conclusion is that even though saintly persons have no business in political affairs, they're always compassionate upon people in general. Thus, even though they're always aloof from the society out of mercy and compassion, they consider how the citizens can peacefully execute their rituals and follow the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma. That was the concern of these sages. In the age of Kali, everything is disturbed. Therefore, saintly persons should take to chanting of Hare Krishna mantra as recommended in the Shastras. Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva Gatir Anyatha. So we also, as a devotees, we have this responsibility that, you know, we should learn to become more compassionate and to help people to achieve peace and happiness. We should promote what? Chanting of Hare Krishna. Both spiritual and material prosperity, everyone should devotedly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if you want to see people are spiritually, materially uplifted, then what should we spread out? Hare Krishna Mahamantra. 38. When the great sages were carrying on their discussion in this way, they saw a dust storm arising from all directions. The storm was caused by the running of thieves and rogues who were engaged in the plundering of the citizens. So the thieves and rogues, they're always looking for opportunities to plunder people. So this is what is noticed by the sages. Now the section is turning. Upon seeing the dust storm, the saintly person could understand that there is a great deal of irregularities due to the death of King Vena. Without government, the state was devoid of law and order, and consequently there was a great uprising of murderers, thieves, and rogues who were plundering the riches of the people in general. Although the great sages could subdue the disturbance by their powers, just as they could kill king, they considered it improper on their part to do so. Thus, they did not attempt to stop the disturbance. Now, one can think that, they can also utter some, words. They can curse all these rogues and thieves and make everything peaceful, right? But we have to understand, they killed Vena because he was very impudent. He was stopping even the sacrifices done for Lord Vishnu. He is not allowing any good activities, any spiritual activities to be carried out. But a Brahmana, out of his prowess, he should not go out and keep cursing everyone. So that's why the Brahmanas here, they became a little thoughtful. Now what should we do? In case of emergency, it's different. But because we have power, we do not misuse it. So the saintly person, Prabhupada writes, the saintly person and great sages killed King Vena out of emergency. And they did not choose to take part in government in order to subdue the uprising of the thieves and rogues, which took place after the death of King Vena. It is not the duty of Brahmanas and saintly persons to kill, although they sometimes do so in the case of emergency. They could kill all the thieves and rogues by the prowess of the mantras, but they thought it is the duty of Kshatriya kings to do so. Thus, they reluctantly did not take part in killing business. So they're thinking about the long-term solution. What will be a long-term solution? How many people they can kill? How many rogues, how many thieves can they kill? So they're thinking of a long-term solution here. Now the section is turning. It's the churning of Vena's body from 41 to 46. The great sages began to think that although a Brahmana is peaceful and impartial, because he is equal to everyone, it's still not his duty to neglect poor humans. By such a neglect, a Brahmana's spiritual power diminishes, just as water kept in a cracked pot leaks out. So Brahmana has nothing to do with this political affairs. So, but at the same time, he cannot neglect the welfare of the people in general. So what is the analogy given? If you neglect, you are a devotee, but you are neglecting, for the upliftment of the society. It's just like, you have a water pot and there is a crack. Now all the water is going out. So it's no point, So as a devotee, we also need to use our education, use our knowledge, use our realizations in preaching. If not, then we are also just like this, just like a water in the cracked pot. It will go away. It's very interesting. Srila Prabhupada told Yamuna Mataji that she should write a cookbook, because she is very expert cook. Prabhupada says that share what you have. It is the duty of a devotee that we should share whatever we have. And Prabhupada also writes here, in their elevated condition, the Brahmanas are called Vaishnavas. There are two types of Brahmanas, namely Brahmana Pandita, Brahmana Vaishnava. A qualified Brahmana is naturally very learned, but when his learning is advanced in understanding Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes Brahmana Vaishnava. Unless one becomes a Vaishnava, one's perfection of Brahmanical culture is incomplete. So, sorry, I think even in the top section, top paragraph, Prabhupada is also saying, if they do not do something to relieve the distress condition of human society, it is said that due to such neglect, the spiritual knowledge diminishes. So as Vaishnavas, we also need to utilize our education and realizations in helping the society to become a better place for people. 42. The sages decided that the descendants of family of saintly King Anga should not be stopped. For in this family, the semen was very powerful and children were prone to become devotees of the Lord. We will read the purport and we will have a discussion here. The purity of hereditary succession is called Amoga Virya. The pious seminal succession in the twice-born family of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas especially, as well as in the families of Vaishyas, also must be kept very pure by observation of the purificatory process beginning with the Garbhadan Samskara, which is observed before conceiving a child. Unless this purificatory process is strictly observed, especially by the Brahmanas, the family descendants become impure and gradually sinful activities become visible in the family. Maharaj Anga was very pure because of the purification of semen in the family of Maharaj Dhruva. However, his semen became contaminated in the association of his wife Sunita, who happened to be the daughter of death personified. Because of this polluted semen, King Vena was produced. This was a catastrophe in the family of Dhruva Maharaj. All the saintly persons and sages considered this point and they decided to take action in this matter, as described in the following verses. Now, the sages are thinking that, some or the other we have to save the semen, some or the other we have to protect this Anga dynasty, the Dhruva Maharaj dynasty, to be continued. And because the semen of this dynasty is very powerful and the children are prone to become devotees. Now the question comes here. If you take Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, Chaturvanna Maya Shrashtam Guna Karma Vibhagasya. Now Krishna there is telling that, people, Chaturvannam, the Varnashrama is divided based on the Guna and the Karma, not by Janma and Karma, right? It's based on the qualities someone acquires. They are fit into a certain kind of certain ashrams and varnas. So how do we reconcile the reflections of the sages and the words of Krishna together? So what is important? How do we explain people? What is important? Saving the semen? Continuing the hereditary in this way? Or we are helping people according to their guna and karma? How do we understand? How do we reconcile? Did you get my question, first of all, everyone? How do we reconcile both the things?
Mataji, can I try?
Yes, Mataji, her hand is up there. We'll
sorry.
I'll come back to you in a minute, Rukmini.
Mataji, I'm trying, I'm not really sure. But it seems that the semen, which is the foundational kind of a base for a living entity, obviously will help, because that is what will give us the platform to inculcate all the good qualities. So I think, in simple words, if somebody has the right heritage or hereditary genes, so to speak, then it is easier for them to inculcate all the brahminical qualities or qualities of a Vaishnava. That's why we say the very fact that there is a child born in a Vaishnava family, that means that the child already has a platform. But how we build on it is obviously, because of free will, we always have the opportunity to build on it or let it go waste. So I think that is why they wanted to save, because the seminal foundation, the basic was very, very strong coming from Dhruv Maharaj. So they wanted to preserve that. That would make it easier for the living entity who comes in this family to become a Vaishnava.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. That's very nice. Yes, Rukmini, Mataji.
Mataji, we talk about there is the sanskaras comes. So there are around 40 sanskaras, and out of 40, 10 are main sanskaras, starting from the Vivaha sanskar. So I asked that why is it not like that starting from the Garbhadan sanskar? Why starting from the Vivaha sanskar? So I got the answer that first of all, that the marriage will happen, then there will be they want to have a child, then there will be a Garbhadan sanskar. So both the things are important, and Garbhadan sanskar is so very much important. Like it is like in the pure devotional service also the definition comes as Anyavilashitashanam Gyan Karmadinayutam. Anukula in Krishna means like Gyan Karma Adi. In Adi, the things come like astrology, and so many things are things we check also. So if we are doing so, that we are calling the good pious soul there. So that is also important, and it is actually helps. And then of course, when now come to the second point, that Krishna is saying, so yes, so these and gunas will be there, it will help, that sanskaras will help in that. So we will these sanskara will help in cultivating the gunas, Mataji. Sorry,
Yes.
I am destroyed.
No, it's nice points, nice reflections. Anyone else want to try? Anyone wants to share some thoughts on it? Anyone else? No one? No one wants to share anything else? Oh, sorry. You're able to hear?
Yes, Mataji.
Sorry, I think my net has got flat. Just 1 second, if you don't mind. Give me 1 minute. Sorry.
No problem, Mataji.
How about we take 10-minute break and come back, if it's okay. In the meantime, I'll fix my meds. Is it okay? We'll take a 10-minute break.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Thank you.
अपना वो होगा ना